center of Beijing when a man walked to the middle of the Avenue of Eternal Peace.
Well, all right. Welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast. Kevin and Chuck. Well, back once again. Today, we're going to talk about China. And that's actually, you wouldn't know this, but that can be a little controversial.
Yeah.
China doesn't like to be talked about, but you would think that as many episodes and as many like downloads as we get from China, you would think they would really appreciate us. I mean, they seem to be
a little shout out to all these guys.
Right.
It's standard too, which is weird. It seems like the number never changes, and it's all downloaded in Beijing, not like around China.
So President Xi doesn't like when we talk about China, but I gotta say, we can we could definitely share the love, and so I'm happy to dig into it. All right, so bottom line, the China's kind of been waging war against the United States, and what's weird is we didn't really seem to notice, and that's kind of, I don't know if that's like haha to China, or if it's more like, man, we're really dumb and we're getting played. It kind of goes both ways. Now, one of these things that obviously puts China on the forefront and has people, looking into this right now is this massive immigration of, what is it they say, Chinese military aged men. There is a massive immigration happening that with these guys. So basically, since 2018, there's been over 133,000 nationals crossing the border from China that we know about. 30,000 since October this year. So like those numbers are bumping up, it's more increased. They said in San Diego, we're getting more Chinese immigrants coming over the border than we are Mexican immigrants. So that's significant because it's actually a long walk from China to the U.S.-Mexico border.
It's a bit of a walk. Yeah.
It's a walk, So it's not something you just do on a whim. You got to like plan that out. You got to like pack some extra Snicker bars. Maybe like at least your get home bag, with the 3-day.
Yeah. 3 days, some water.
Right. So it's some effort.
Skittles to keep your blood sugar up.
Kevin, the big question that everybody's dying to know, and with a provocative title, like China declares war on the U.S.
Provocative.
That's provocative, right? Why are these people coming? That's what everybody's dying to know.
Why? Why would you want to leave China? Such a glorious place. I could tell you a couple of reasons. I was looking into it. One of the main reasons that people are leaving China is that apparently the Communist Party is not a big fan of Christianity. Okay. So if you're a Christian,
so it might be a bunch of Christians that are coming over the border.
Life sucks. Well, I mean, you should get the fuck out of China if you're a Christian. That's number one thing.
Turns out they don't like Muslims much either.
Well, no, that's a valid point. It's pretty much any religion.
But they might actually be in some kind of prison camp.
Right.
So they might not be leaving as
quickly.
No,
in China you have to actually have a you have to register. Not just register your church, but if you go to a church, you have to register that you're somebody that goes to church. And occasionally they'll fuck with you if you have that registration, but they'll also like go into churches and demand everybody's to see everybody's cards. Yeah. So you have to have the card, but having the card kind of puts you on a fucking list of lower class people. Some people are I saw a lot of them were democracy advocates that basically had to fucking leave. Like, you can't advocate for democracy. That's not okay. So you better get the fuck out of there or you're going to be in prison. A lot of people are motivated by an economic downturn and disillusionment with Xi Jinping's increasingly coercive rule. So since 2019, 1.1 million people have left China. So that includes like over COVID and everything. a lot of people are just getting the fuck out of there. Where are they going? Most of them are going to the United States. And then rich people are getting the fuck out of China. Crackdowns on financiers and roiling political climate. Many Chinese rich people are looking to move their money and themselves out of the country. So, that old phrase like communism only works as long as there's rich people to steal from.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like they're still stealing from rich people. So if you're rich, you want to get the fuck out of there. Things are not going to be good for you.
The whole social credit score probably doesn't work out good. Like you and me, we're probably like would be in the upstanding citizen list. But
Yeah.
I mean, other people, you Riff Raff out there.
Yeah, the Riff Raff that listen to this show.
You'd be in all kinds of trouble.
Walking around with unshaved faces and smelling like you've been working all day. Gross.
Yeah, I got into trouble with the wife. I shared some kind of video off Facebook or something that, like, one of these reels or whatever, and it was about the guy goes in to get a haircut, and he's like, "Yeah, I want a haircut that Or she's like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "Something that says that I got up at 4 a.m, drove an hour and a half to a job that I hate, and cradled the sack of my boss's balls for whatever." And the guy behind him sitting there and is like, "Yep, right here." And
same one.
And I'm like, "Yeah, seems about right." And the guy's like, "Yeah, that's it." And she's like, "Why would you share that? That's so horrible." And I'm like, yeah, that's but what can I tell you, right? I got into trouble. I had to take it down. She's like, "It makes us look bad." I don't know what to
Why
tell
would
you.
she even marry you if she was concerned about
Right?
that?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Do you even know me at all? Is really what I'm saying.
Oh,
But
shit.
anyway, so sorry, I got distracted. So basically, China has some negatives as far as wanting to live there, at least from the perspective of a greedy, selfish American.
Right.
That's what we could interpret. Now America actually, I know the news, the doom and gloom you hear on survival podcasts, including here and everything, might paint America in a negative light. But I gotta say, we have some pretty kick-ass freedoms in America.
Right.
We do live pretty well. I mean, it used to be that they'd say, well, even poor people have, color TVs and air conditioning. Dude, we're way past that.
Right.
Like poor people in America, you're like cell phones, high-speed internet,
Flat screens.
you're
Color TV. That's that's a bit aged.
you're about
Everybody
12.
got a car. Everybody got enough to eat. I mean, I say everybody. There are a couple of people that don't take care of their kids, and that's fucked up. But that's not America's fault.
And you're working and you won't sign up for government programs, and it can actually be pretty crappy and hard. And I know it. There was a little sarcasm in that, but I gotta say, you could live a pretty good life without doing a lot of work. It is possible. People are doing it in the United States, and
That's
I'm just
true.
saying, like, you might not have a Maserati in the driveway, but you might have a car that works.
Yeah, you might not be eating steak and lobster, but
you're also not just eating rice every day. You could at least have like what are those, honey smacks or whatever, the one with Dig'em? Those things are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You could eat that, definitely. You could definitely have that. We're exactly. We're so terrible that everybody, somehow wants to come here. So, all right, so that's a possibility. Now, I would posture, if you will, that the people might be immigrating for other reasons.
There's a possibility.
Slightly more nefarious. China they basically have two approaches to war, and neither one of them actually line up exactly with the UN standard of how you should approach war. China has something called unrestricted warfare. And basically that means that if I hate you and want to kill you, I'm not playing any games. That means like poisoning food, no problem. I could do that.
That's a thing.
Just whatever. However I can find a way to destroy you, I'm going to do it because that's my goal. And, it's one of those things, if you're going to do something, you may as well do it well. Give it your
Right.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of China's attitude. The US, like, I sure know when we did the whole Afghan war thing and the Iraqi war, we were kind of like, let's do a war, but we don't really want to hurt anybody. And, kind of like we're telling Israel to do right now.
Right.
What you need to do is protect yourself, but don't hurt people. And yeah, that's kind of the approach. China doesn't go for that shit. China's like all in. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, intellectual property, whatever.
Yeah,
We
fuck
do what
that.
we want. Grown ass man.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that they're actually doing where they are bringing across the border, it's kind of a couple of things here. So they have another thing besides unrestricted warfare. Work with me here, is disintegration warfare. All right.
Okay.
And that's basically fighting you without sending in a military.
Mm-hmm.
Basically letting you destroy yourself. Think about it like that, little, we'll throw in the Japanese there, a little Harry Carry kind of things. That the Japanese, I don't know how that works, but anyway, whatever. So disintegration warfare, if you guys remember, there was something called the Opium Wars, and those of
Yep.
you who are young, you don't really remember this, but
Mm-hmm.
us olds, we remember. So the British thought, hey, let's get everybody in China hooked on opium. They won't
Right.
be a threat at all. They won't do shit. Well, it turns out, and this was not America, this was the British.
Yeah. Fuck those British people
The
anyway.
British people were like, you all need to be doing opium because it's the bee's knees.
All the cool kids are doing
All the
opium.
cool kids think heroin. So believe it or not, at the height of the opium wars, 25% of the Chinese population was hooked on opium. Well, so I feel like that China may have remembered this transgression
Mm-hmm.
because it turns out we have a problem in the United States from a drug called fentanyl,
Yeah.
and it's killing people all over the place. Michael Jackson. I mean, come on.
You know?
Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. If you can kill the king of pop, then
I'm more concerned about Tom Petty. I mean, Tom
yeah,
Petty, Prince, couple of guys out there.
Prince. I
You
mean, that
know?
Prince hit me a little harder than Michael Jackson, I gotta say. Prince is the man. Prince is
Yeah.
just freaking genius.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands, so it turns out that almost all of the key ingredients that make up fentanyl are coming from China. Like almost
Right.
all of them. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, they make stuff, they don't track it, whatever. That has nothing to do with them trying to kill us. Well, let me dig a little deeper into that. It turns out that they all go to one port controlled by the Chinese that is in Mexico, all the fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a town that, and this is from Homeland Security documents,
Mm-hmm.
that is 90%, that the town has 2,000 Chinese nationals. And it turns out they have all the fentanyl going there, 2,000 Chinese nationals, and there's a bunch of pill presses where they make pills that actually look like Oxycontin and look like Adderall
Mm-hmm.
and all the things that, like college kids like to take,
Right.
the best and the brightest, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they get compressed and made and put together. And then mysteriously, they're selling it basically at cost to the cartels to bring over the US border.
Mm.
And that's a little
Interesting.
concerning. And it's
Little.
weird how, and this is why, I have the title that says China declares war on US. I got to say, if you have 2,000 people working hard to deliberately bring drugs that are destroying America intentionally across the border, that's kind of some shady intentional stuff.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's actually being a problem. Like, you probably have never seen this in a news story, but fentanyl is killing a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part two, right? So that leads to this whole disintegration warfare thing.
Right.
Then I would say, if you want to talk about destroying a culture, you guys probably don't know, but people spend a few minutes a day staring at TikTok. You probably didn't realize this.
Yep.
You know who
I've
owns
heard
TikTok?
about this.
That's China. And you're like, well, yeah, but they just gave us something awesome that we want. It's funny. Congress is actually right now keep proposing bills to. They say if TikTok doesn't separate from the Communist Party because they own 1%, but they basically have a seat on the board. But
Right.
if they don't separate from China, that we're going to ban them in the United States. And basically what they're saying is we'll ban them in the app stores. But it turns out India, they already did this in 2020. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something like 200 million people still have the app on the phone and are
Yeah.
using it. So I'm not sure the ban will actually work. And I will say Congress is talking about TikTok's so bad, we need to ban it. But at the same time, the President Biden's campaign is using TikTok to run ads and do everything
Right.
because, it's an evil tool. But I got to say, if I was running for president and I was working to ban TikTok, I would still have a campaign going on TikTok because
Right.
who the hell are all the people? You'd be an idiot not to.
Yeah.
I
That'd
mean,
just be it'd
that's
be dumb.
kind of so.
Yeah.
In his defense,
I will
it
say
is weird
though.
that we use it and we're like, it's so evil.
Yeah.
But
I
hang on,
would
let me
say.
show you this video I just saw, which is what I did earlier, right?
Yeah. If you have that app on your phone,
Yeah.
it definitely has access to all your contacts. It definitely has access to
Oh,
everybody
dude,
and all their phone numbers
it's
and
the worst. Like,
who they
you
are.
go in and people are like, dude, I saw that video you did. And I'm like, I don't even know you. And
Right.
they're like, yeah, but you're in just proximity. If
Mm-hmm.
you're in proximity with people at work, or maybe you both go to the same barber on Tuesdays,
Right.
then yeah, no, it's sharing your business. It's bad.
Yeah. No, I was on TikTok and I put it on my phone like a dumbass. I should not have. But it basically brought up as a recommendation everybody that's in my contact list that has a TikTok account
Oh, all day.
as
And then,
recommended friend.
but even people that I'm not friends with on Facebook or whatever, I go to work and they're like I don't even know their full name. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, I saw that video on TikTok. It keeps showing it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why. Right.
Yep.
All the people on TikTok, my videos that have like 5 views, and mysteriously it keeps showing it to the guy who sits, right across from me.
Right.
Weird. Nah, dude, it's sucking your life, but it's more about information and access. I don't think, I mean, we're definitely, you're not as productive if you have TikTok. I do think that, and I hate to say it, as you could be. I'm not saying as other people. I'm saying you're limiting yourself. Maybe you're limiting yourself and obviously Facebook Reels is the same thing. YouTube Shorts. There's no difference in hurting
Right.
your productivity. But I think really the bigger goal is it does have stuff they're putting in your phone and you don't know. And, it's just we don't know. We don't know what we're giving them access to. I just know our CIA has done some little shady things with, getting into people's phones and software and then they bring it into their work and their stuff and they do things. And China wouldn't put it past anything to steal secrets.
Mm-hmm.
And if you happen to work at a place that maybe has something that China wants, which turns out they want everything because
Everything.
they don't develop shit on their own. Turns
No.
out communism doesn't create the best and the brightest. They're just really good
Yeah.
at stealing shit.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, so it's really difficult for slaves to come up with like fresh new ideas on how to do stuff.
They're just not
And
as
if you
inspired.
enslave the entire population, then yeah, you have exactly. That's exactly it. You can't get inspiration when you're living under somebody's fucking boot, you know?
Yeah,
But whatever.
that's all. All right. So then it turns out, so we have some other stuff. What's weird now? This one kind of threw me. I couldn't figure out the deep, the sinister stuff. Now we talked about the fentanyl and the drugs, the deterioration. There are 270 suspected Chinese illegal marijuana grow operations in Maine that
In
have been
Maine,
discovered
really?
in the last year. And now,
Wow.
are they lacing it with fentanyl? Or are they? I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they just all want to get high.
Maybe
But
they're just yeah, maybe
I'm
just they
just,
just love the Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd and want to fucking rock out, man.
it's bad. Next thing we have Chinese hacking. There's been 14 instances of Chinese nationals trying to gain entrance into Pearl Harbor since 2018. I don't even know what happens at Pearl Harbor. Like we got a bunch of boats. I don't know.
Yeah, they got some
I
ships
guess
there.
that's where really you're kind of home ported if you're guarding Taiwan kind of thing. I don't know. We have guys in Japan. I guess they're really coming out of there. I don't know. So that's a thing. And those are things we know about. Since 2018, there's been 100 incidents of attacks on our U.S. military bases. And I don't mean attacks like they attacked it. I mean, people tried to gain entry where there wasn't, they weren't authorized or allowed to be there. There was actually just a big story. Trudeau up in Canada was covering up how their biological warfare labs had been infiltrated by the Chinese. And turns out they gained access to all kinds of stuff. Their keyboards, they went in and were given a tour inside the facility. People who were members of the Chinese whatever army, whatever they call it. Was it People's Liberation Army, PLO?
Yeah, whatever the hell it is. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they always have like great names for it, like the Republic of China, the People's Republic of China. There ain't shit about China that's republic.
Now
They got a dictator and you don't fucking vote.
Exactly. There are also some positives that maybe they're negatives. It depends how you look at it. Coming from the whole Chinese invasion, right? Do you guys know about the Glock Switch? The Glock Switch is just at the back of the slide. You can kind of replace, there's a little cover there typically, and it basically bumps it out, but it basically makes it a push button that'll make your Glock full auto. And I'm just saying, now, turns out we have this big problem of criminals, going in with the whole full auto handguns and shooting up places and killing each other in Chicago and California. It's all kind of crazy. Turns out these things are being like mass produced. Now, what's weird is I keep reading articles that they're smuggling them in, but it seems like such a simple device that you could just set up like a 3D printer or whatever and make
make
them
that shit at home.
I mean, I understand. Like, I wouldn't think you'd have to smuggle them in. I feel like you could set up a shop. Like, you'd have to set up a little tooling shop. There are pieces that have to be metal and things like that. But I feel like you could do that here.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of talk about like banning certain types of weapons in the United States. But you know what? The secret's out. They're not hard to make. You can make one in your basement with a drill press and a couple of basic tools. It's not, firearms aren't like the most complicated thing in the world. You know what I mean? You could build one out of a piece of pipe and a block of wood if you're into it. Get a rubber band and a nail and you can fire that thing whenever you want. But whatever, who am I?
Yeah, no, exactly. But there is so much going on and so much opportunity for bad. To me, it's funny, not to get too sidetracked, but full auto is just kind of a waste. I mean, it's fun. Like,
It's
even
fun.
like I
Yeah.
have those
But
the
good luck hitting
binary
something.
switches. The
Mhm.
binary switches, which
Right.
basically you pull the trigger on your gun and it shoots, and you let go of the trigger and it shoots. So you can be twice as fast. And if you're pretty quick with the trigger, you can be pretty quick. I have an AR set up for 22, and that's pretty much the only one that I'll use that with, because I'm like, I'm not burning through that much ammo.
Right.
Like,
That shit gets
I'm
expensive,
just
doesn't
like, oh, 50 cents, 50 cents, stop.
it?
Every
Yeah.
fire, and so I guess with the binary trigger, it's $1, $1. And I'm like, whoa, put that gun down, So
Hmm.
it's fun for a minute, and it's fun to make loud noises and make things go bang. I mean,
Right. Right.
I have issues, right?
Hmm.
We have concerns, but that's something you guys might want to consider. I would also say that you know they they seem to be deliberately, we've all right. Another thing here, that the head of the FBI says that we currently have more red flags than we did before September 11th right now, coming from China.
Right.
And not, we had more red flags of possible terror threats before. Now we have more red flags of possible terror threats and threats against our country than we did now from China.
Right. Right. And a lot
And
of
that
them are
we should be worried. Yeah. Yeah. No,
infrastructure
it's big
issues.
stuff, right?
Right.
No, it's
So
hacking.
yeah,
It's
power companies, oil refineries, all sorts of that type of stuff is things that are being targeted by hackers. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of our infrastructure runs online, where it can be accessed. And when's the last time the guy changed his password on the computer that he uses 3 times a week? He doesn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's user 1 2 3 4 or something. You know what I mean? It ain't that hard to get
I
in
don't
there.
want to I don't want to give out any secrets, but I do
Uh-huh.
know that 20 years ago when I was in the military,
Hmm.
80% of US government passwords were the word password.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Try password, try admin. You're gonna get in there. It ain't that difficult.
um we have some top secret ones where I work. So what I will say is we don't update our passwords at my job as often as we should, but I will say that we have 40 different passwords that I have to carry a sheet that's a mile long to.
Just so you can
They're like, "Well, you
access
didn't
everything,
try
right?
this one." And I'm
Hmm.
like, "What? Why?"
Yeah, don't let anyone see that sheet. Don't make a copy of that
What?
and pass it out at the border.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it is something it is something to worry about. Let's
Yeah.
talk about COVID. Do you remember the panic? The
Cool.
first week or so, right? Emptied grocery stores were emptied. Everybody's running around. Everybody's off
Yep.
the streets trying to stay at home, but they don't have enough to eat and they gotta go. And everything's a panic. Everybody was freaking the fuck out. They
Yep.
they were positive it was going to kill them. COVID-19 was lethal, and you were going to die if you get it, and you
Yep.
better keep your ass inside and away from everybody else. Can you imagine what would have happened that week if people's power and internet went out? It would have been chaos.
Kevin,
There would have
don't
been
even joke.
murders.
Don't even joke about something serious like that.
Hmm.
But that's a thing. We just had AT&T, just had that big shutdown. Does anybody remember anything about Facebook going down for 20 minutes last week?
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
crisis. That
the
thing was
panic.
offline for like
Can't
20
log in.
minutes.
I can't log in. No.
Yep.
And they were like, oh, and dude, that was worldwide, but it wasn't just Facebook. They
Hmm.
said all kinds of companies. Verizon had stuff.
Right.
Could that? And they were like, oh yeah, it was just a glitch. But bunch of
Instagram.
service,
Yeah.
everything. Dude, it was all like tons of stuff, and it was all seemed to be communication stuff.
Right.
Um, and I know you're like, well, Facebook isn't a communication thing, isn't it? Where do you get information when you panic and something's going on? Hey, the power's out. Let me go on Facebook
Right.
and see if anyone else is having trouble. See
Yeah.
if this
Nobody
is a
turns on the
video.
radio.
Mm-mm.
TV's not working. TV's not working. You're not watching the news. Where else are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You know?
So that's one of the key things that people do is they check their information on their local sources that they use. Dude, everything was shut down. And it was like 20 minutes and it wasn't a big deal. But could that be a test? Could that be a, hey, could we
Yeah, I
do
mean, we
it?
really never got any word of why it shut down.
No,
I'm
no,
sure
it's
they
a blip.
know. They didn't tell
It
us.
wasn't, just a blip on the radar. And
Hmm.
that's my point. We're just, and I gotta say, China really is not happy with us. And one of the secrets that people don't realize is when the people aren't happy, the best trick that a government has up its sleeve is to say, hey, we're not really the problem. It's those people over there.
Yep, that's right.
And,
It's the
if you
blacks,
were
it's the
China,
Jews, it's the Americans.
it's the Americans. And, hey, maybe the reason the Chinese people are having such a hard time, it's not because communism sucks. It's because America's so damn evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I think now you're seeing it. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, no, I feel like a lot of us have in America have a very easy life, at least if we want it to be easy. Not everybody goes to the gym
Some of us
and
like to
does
bang
stuff to
our heads
struggle. Like,
against the wall.
yeah, some people are insane like me and just fucking always enraged no matter what's happening, whatever. But it's very easy to just watch Netflix and chill.
Oh,
Beer's cheap, Cheetos are cheap.
Reacher, I was watching that. Was that
Uh-huh.
Amazon? That was entertaining. It happens. You're just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the upside is the real trick, and this is a secret of the pros I'll let you guys in on. And luckily, no one from my job will ever see this. But
Mhm.
if you can find a way to watch Netflix and chill while you're at work getting paid double time, that might be the trick. What's cool is I can be really productive when I'm home because I'm like, oh, I've already seen everything on Netflix. I've been through
Mhm.
them all. There's nothing left to watch. I mean, that's why I have to be a constant YouTube junkie because I'm like, all right, well, I've already gone through all the movies and the
I've
TV
already seen
shows.
every goddamn
So
thing that's
I
ever
got to
been
see
made.
what people are putting out there because there's nothing left. I'm just
Mhm.
saying, that's the trick. That's the secret of the pros right there is to find a job where they pay you to sit there and
I've noticed as I've gotten older and moved up in the world,
yeah,
I've noticed that the lower you get paid, the shittier your job is.
it's like work.
Right.
Dude, if you're
Right.
making
If you're making
10,
$10 an
I
hour,
was gonna say
y-
7, but I guess
yeah,
that's not a number
you're
anymore.
working your ass off and you're not taking 5 minutes to take a
No.
look, take a minute and look at anything. You know what I mean? But once you start moving up towards like manager level, and you just sit in your office and watch YouTube all day, you know, get maybe 5 minutes out of an hour out of work for me.
Yep. No, exactly. I mean, really, I don't even understand why we don't have the Survival and Basic Badass podcast on Netflix. Like, I feel like people can be binge watching this.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
that's something we need to bring out. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm looking for options here. I'm the victim.
that's right. We'll take this up. I'll give Netflix a call and see if we can get this
See
worked
if you
out
can't
this
crack
week.
that nut,
Yeah. All right. What else you got here as far as China goes? We
Well,
didn't talk about the blimp yet.
we didn't talk about the balloon. And that was
Mm-hmm.
the thing. It took like some like kid or something. Somebody was like, hey, out in Montana was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Well, what's that thing out there? Look, I videotaped it. It looks like a spy balloon." And it turns out it was like connecting to US internet providers and transmitting one charting its location, but also transmitting back to China.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, I don't think it's a threat. And the thing was, they were like, oh, it's randomly drifting. But it turned out it wasn't. It was
It
being
wasn't actually
controlled and
random. It was
activated
randomly drifting over every
strategic
base
sites.
in the
Right.
in the country, but that's fine. That's fine. That's just how the damn Gulf Stream works, man.
Yeah. No, that's magic, right?
Take a shot every time Kevin gives shitty advice. Well, you're gonna
Kevin,
be shit
do you
faced in
give me
about 5 minutes
any
watching this, listen to this shit.
actually, I heard the rumor is every time Kevin lights a cigarette.
Yeah, there's a rumor about a drinking game like that, but also, you'll be fucked up pretty quick.
Ah, Kevin. Or every time Chuck takes a sip of coffee,
Mm-hmm.
if you have to take a shot.
Yeah, you're
You,
done.
that's my buddy's like, I watched the show and you must have an endless cup of coffee because I'm watching you. And he's like, you just keep going. And I was like, well, what really happens is about 10 minutes in, that coffee's cold. And so I
Mm-hmm.
start to sip it and I'm like, oh.
Ew, cold coffee.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's like disappointment every time. And I just keep, well, I need it. So I keep, going back. But you get how it
Mm-hmm.
is. I don't know. So, bottom line, it turns out China kind of a real threat. I honestly believe China is our biggest threat right now.
Yeah.
China or the US government. I'm not sure because it's weird. Oh, dude, we didn't even talk about the biggest thing. I have one more. Let me just hang in with me for a couple more minutes, guys. The Chinese debt trap.
Right.
This is because I was thinking, oh, China's, our biggest threat. But then I was like, the US is our biggest threat, our own government, because they're doing the same tactics as the Chinese. And I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you why. And one, we'll talk about the pharmaceutical industry and kind of the alternative. We're doing the same crap that China's doing with fentanyl, just with prescription drugs
Yeah.
and what we allow there. But that's a whole other show. That one I'm going to hold off on. But let's talk about the Chinese debt trap. Check this out. I have this awesome quote that I almost didn't get to give you. China says that they don't do aid and charity, they do business. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to say, I want to be able to say that about my country.
Right.
I mean, I know it's cool to be nice and care about people and do different things. I get that. Like, that's cool. But let's do business. Let's make some money. So, what China's doing, though, and I got to say, I feel like they're doing it to the US, but well, indirectly, but they're definitely doing it in Africa. And what they're doing is they go to these countries that are impoverished, and they say, hey, look, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give you super low interest loans. And, even though it doesn't look like you could pay us back, we're going to give you like $1 billion. And, because you guys really need to upgrade your infrastructure.
Right.
And they're like, oh, that'd be all. Yeah, I could use $1 billion at a low interest
Mm-hmm.
rate. Let's do that.
Bridges,
So
schools, all
that,
that shit's important, right?
right.
Got
So
to
they
get
go
this country up to snuff.
straighten it up. And now they've actually done this it's kind of a high number. It's been $340 billion they've given to Africa in 35 countries.
They've lent to
Okay.
Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, I said living. That was because I'm an American and that's what I think. I'm like, oh, giving
Right.
you. No. America would be like, oh, no problem. Here's 340 billion. Go whatever.
Yeah.
And
We
China's
send
like,
out that much at least to every fucking country with no strings attached all the time.
right. Let's not even talk about Egypt. But anyway, so they gave them 340 billion. Now, then they're like, oh, you know what? It's awkward because you don't seem to be able to pay us back. And since you're not able to pay us back, don't worry. We're not going to roll in troops. We're not going to be crazy. But that awesome city you have over there? Why don't you just sell all that land to us? Like, we'll still let you use it. You guys can all live there,
Right.
but like we could just own it and you could pay us rent. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Some countries are like, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And then China owns like your key infrastructure, right?
Right.
And then let's go a little further. And they're like, hey, you don't want to give up that key stuff. Well, I'll tell you what. What if you implemented some political ideas that we have? I mean, we're just throwing it out there. What if you said, hey, you need to do some kind of population control and every family is only allowed to have one girl. Let's do something like that. I don't know. So just saying, these could be some shady things that are going on right now.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I kind of made up in my head the one girl policy, but they are getting these countries to vote and do things and implement laws. Now you're like, well, who would do something this shady? It just sounds sinister and evil, like Dr. Evil, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you, do you guys remember the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit? Do
Yeah.
you remember seatbelt laws? Do you remember the crap education that our kids are getting? These sound like very similar ideas where it's like, hey, now we're even more sinister because we're like, hey, let's tax you and take all your money, but we'll give you your money back if you do what I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm seeing that the Chinese might have learned this play right from the master right over here. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Now, one of the reasons that China is really pushing right now is they're starting to run into issues. They've had some major financial blows. COVID hit pretty fucking hard over there. It really, I mean, they said that they had, only like 100,000 people died from COVID and shit like that. That is all bullshit. That is all bullshit. China did terrible with that. Everybody's living right on top of each other to begin with over there. It's not like you can, like in America, you isolate in the suburbs and you got, an acre of yard to play in, not run into anybody else. They got hit hard. The other problem is that their population is declining fast, real fast. So in the next 20 years, they're gonna be fucked, like literally fucked back to pre-World War II China, and they're in fucking trouble. So they've got to hit now. They've got to do what they can do now. They've got to take Taiwan back now. They have a limited amount of time before they're going to be a backwater if they don't make some serious plays. And that's kind of what's pushing it. There was that big initiative to have China beating the United States in production by, what was it, 2025? What was that? And that is not going to happen. That is not even close to happening. They missed their mark, and it's only going downhill now. What they do have is still a large population, a large amount of money, and a lot of money invested in military assets. So
you know what you can do with something like that?
What?
Invade other countries.
There you go.
Maybe
There you go.
Go find people with a lot of money and go take their stuff.
You got to take people's shit.
Oh, well, you mean the United States? Well, let's start with Taiwan.
Yeah, because, I mean, apparently the United States...
Or maybe let's start with Hong Kong. Oh, they
already did that one, right?
Yeah. And then we'll do Taiwan.
Then we'll move to Taiwan, take their shit. It seems like more and more that countries like the United States and Australia and countries that had an interest in keeping Taiwan free have been kind of backing out on that. They're like, I don't know if we're really gonna help you out. We'll tell China that it's bad that they invaded you, but I mean, we're not really gonna do anything.
Well, because money's hard to come by, and if you just gave all your money to Ukraine, and
you know what I'm saying,
you had a crisis going on at home, and everybody was realizing that it turns out you probably can't live in the U.S. on $2,000 a month Social Security.
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen anymore.
Then you might have a problem at home where you can't really be worrying about Taiwan. I'm just saying, you might be distracted with your own problems, especially if your infrastructure, your water and power and all that stuff was maybe, just maybe, you made really bad choices on the whole electric car and solar thing.
Yeah.
I look at putting solar panels and they're 3% of your electricity. And I'm like, that sounds horrible. That's not
doesn't sound like a deal.
23%. Oh, yeah, we took $40 off your electric bill, but
it'll only take 20 years for those solar panels to pay you back. They go bad after 18, but I mean,
but whatever.
I
don't. It's a bad world. So anyway, learn to live with less. Take care of your own business is what I would tell you. Anyway, we really appreciate you guys listening and checking us out. You have questions, concerns, email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Ideas for guests or places that we should be, let us know. We really appreciate when you guys share the podcast and let other people know about it and kind of spread the love, share it on Facebook, share the videos, whatever. We really appreciate it. You know, you have an episode that you think is great, share it with some friends, you know. Anyway, with that, I would say stay safe and we will talk to you guys next week.